So you guys want to know more about the history of money, huh? Well, we're going to take you back to the very beginning.
Yeah, it's a really long and fascinating history, too.
It is. We're talking way back in time, before iPhones, before cars, even before America.
Way, way back.
Back to a time when if you wanted something, you had to find someone who had that thing and was willing to trade you for something you had.
Exactly. We're talking about the barter system.
Right, like, hey, I like that cow you got there. How many chickens you want for it?
Something like that.
Ugh.
And that's where the problem with bartering really comes into play. You see, to barter, you have to have something the other person wants.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like a double coincidence. You gotta have what they want, and they gotta have what you want.
Exactly. And even then, how do you decide how many chickens equal one cow? Who decides that?
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for disaster, or at least some very awkward negotiations.
You can say that again. So it's no surprise that people started looking for a better way, a more standardized and universally accepted form of currency.
And that's where our good friend gold enters the scene, right?
Precisely, gold emerged as that ideal medium of exchange.
But I mean, why gold out of all the things? Why not silver or diamonds or even like those little toys from cereal boxes?
Well, gold had a unique set of characteristics that made it perfect for the job. It's relatively rare, so you don't find it just lying around everywhere.
Okay, makes sense. Got to make sure there isn't too much of it floating around.
Right. And it's also incredibly durable. Gold doesn't rust or corrode. It can last for thousands of years.
That's important. You don't want your money falling apart in your hands.
Exactly. Plus, it's divisible. You can melt gold down and divide it into smaller units without losing its value.
So you could have like a big chunk of gold for big purchases or smaller pieces for your everyday stuff.
That's the idea. This divisibility made it ideal for creating coins, those early forms of standardized currency.
And speaking of coins, I gotta ask about this whole biting a coin thing to see if it's real. Was that actually a thing people did, or is that just Hollywood making stuff up?
Oh, it's totally true. Gold is actually quite soft, especially in its pure form. So biting a coin was a surprisingly effective way to test for purity.
Wow, I had no idea. It's amazing how what we consider like common knowledge can sometimes be rooted in these really practical historical practices.
It is fascinating, isn't it? But even with all its advantages, gold wasn't a perfect system. Imagine for a second
What's that?
that you just bought a new house.
Okay, nice house.
Thanks. But you had to pay for it all in gold.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a lot of gold.
Oh.
Not exactly practical or safe to be carrying around.
Yeah, that's like asking for trouble. You'd need a team of security guards just to go grocery shopping.
Precisely. So the search for a more convenient and secure form of money continued.
And that's where things start to get really interesting. And that brings us to the invention of paper money.
Paper money.
Ah, yes. A game changer indeed.
It's like the original fintech revolution, right?
You could say that the earliest known versions of paper money emerged in China around the 7th century.
Really? China? Wow, I did not know that. Yeah, they were way ahead of the curve on that one. Instead of carrying around heavy strings of coins, they started using paper notes as a kind of IOU for gold or silver deposits.
So it was like a promise note for precious metals, kind of like a proto-check?
Precisely. These notes represented a certain amount of gold or silver held in reserve, making them much easier and safer to transport than the actual metals.
That makes sense. But I imagine getting people to trust these pieces of paper wasn't easy.
You're right. Trust was key, and that's where the role of government backing became essential.
So the government basically said, hey, we vouch for this paper. It's good for its value in gold.
Exactly. That guarantee from a central authority, a king or a government, was crucial for paper money to gain widespread acceptance.
It's interesting how so much of our financial system, even today, relies on this idea of trust.
It certainly does. But early paper money, like any new technology, wasn't without its flaws.
Like what? I mean, I can only imagine the challenges of trying to prevent counterfeiting back then.
Oh, absolutely. Counterfeiting was a constant problem. Imagine trying to create a secure currency when printing techniques were nowhere near as sophisticated as they are today.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a nightmare. One good forgery and your entire economy could be thrown into chaos.
It was a real concern. And let's not forget about the durability issue.
Right, paper isn't exactly known for its longevity, especially when it's being handled constantly.
Exactly. Those early banknotes, often made from flimsy materials, were prone to tearing, fading, you name it.
I bet a rainy day could spell disaster for your wallet.
You got it. But despite these early hiccups, paper money paved the way for an even bigger financial revolution. The rise of modern banking.
So we're talking vaults full of cash loans, interest rates, the whole shebang.
Precisely, banks emerged as institutions that provided a secure place to store all that paper money.
Which made a lot of sense. I mean, who wants to keep all their savings hidden under their mattress?
Right, and beyond just storing money, banks introduced a revolutionary new service.
So people could borrow money from the bank and the bank would charge interest.
That's the gist of it. It was a win-win in theory. Borrowers got access to funds they needed, and banks generated profits from the interest charged on those loans.
But I bet those early bank loans were a lot harder to come by than just filling out an online application.
You bet lending was a much more careful and selective process back then, often limited to well-established merchants or landowners.
It's amazing how much the financial landscape has changed in such a relatively short amount of time. We've gone from bartering chickens to swiping pieces of plastic, all thanks to this constant drive for more efficient and convenient ways to exchange value.
And speaking of plastic, that takes us to the era of credit cards and debit cards, another fascinating chapter in the story of money.
Okay, so we've gone from bartering goats to gold coins to paper money to banks to credit cards, debit cards. Like, wow. It's incredible how far we've come.
It really is a testament to human ingenuity, how we keep finding new and better ways to exchange value.
Totally. But where do we go from here? What does the future of money look like? That's what I want to know.
Well, one word, cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency. All right, so we're finally talking about the elephant in the room, or should I say the Bitcoin and the blockchain.
That's one way to put it. Cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, has been making headlines for years now, and for good reason. It has the potential to revolutionize the way we think about and use money.
Okay, so as someone who still forgets their password like every other day, explain it to me like I'm 5. What exactly is cryptocurrency?
Imagine a digital form of currency that exists entirely online. It's not controlled by any government or central bank. Instead, it relies on a decentralized network of computers to verify and record transactions.
A decentralized network. So instead of my bank handling my transactions, it's like a whole bunch of computers all over the world.
Exactly. And this network is powered by something called blockchain technology.
Blockchain, okay, that's where I start to get a little lost.
I know it sounds complicated, but stick with me. Imagine a digital ledger, a record of every transaction ever made with that particular cryptocurrency.
Okay, like a giant online spreadsheet.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And this ledger is constantly being updated and verified by thousands of computers all over the world. That's the blockchain.
So it's like this massive collaborative effort to track where every unit of cryptocurrency is going.
Precisely. And because the blockchain is decentralized and transparent, it's incredibly secure. It's virtually impossible to counterfeit or double-spend cryptocurrency.
It's pretty impressive. But what gives cryptocurrency value in the first place? I mean, it's not like it's backed by gold or anything tangible.
That's a great question, and it's one of the most debated aspects of cryptocurrency. Its value is determined by a complex interplay of factors: supply and demand, market sentiment, media hype, even technological advancements.
So it's kind of like the Wild West of finance right now.
In a way, yes. It's still a relatively new and evolving market, so it can be volatile. But that volatility also presents opportunities for those who are willing to navigate this new terrain.
So are we all going to be paying for our morning coffee with Bitcoin anytime soon?
It's certainly possible. Cryptocurrency has already made significant inroads in terms of adoption. But there are still challenges to overcome: regulatory uncertainty, technological complexity, and the need for greater public understanding.
So it's not a matter of if, but when.
It's hard to say for sure. But what's clear is that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology have the potential to disrupt and reshape the financial landscape as we know it.
Well, that's both exciting and a little bit terrifying. But hey, if the history of money has taught us anything, it's that humans are remarkably adaptable.
That's right. We've gone from bartering cows to sending instant digital payments across borders. Who knows what the future holds for the way we exchange value?
Well, there you have it, folks. From bartered chickens to the mind-bending world of cryptocurrency, we've explored the fascinating and ever-evolving history of money. It's a story of innovation, adaptation, and the constant pursuit of more efficient and convenient ways to exchange value. And who knows what exciting possibilities await us in the future of finance.
Only time will tell.